Welcome back to the Explanation Pro. Today I'll recap a comedy drama war film called Life is Beautiful. Spoilers incoming. The movie is about a Jewish Italian man who tricks his son into thinking that their time in a concentration camp had just been a game to keep the child's innocence. The main character, Guido, and his friend, Ferruccio, on the way to the city. Ferruccio recites poetry while driving. They go off-road down a hill and through a forest. They return to the road and get mistaken for being an important official. Their car eventually breaks down and they stop to fix it. Guido then sees a cart filled with goods and asks the young girl nearby who put it out and how much it was. The girl introduces herself and Guido introduces himself as a prince. He then jokingly says that he would fill up the place with lots of exotic animals before saying that he has to leave as he has an appointment with the princess. The girl asks her when, and he replies with, now, as a woman fell down on him. The woman, Dora, says that she tried to burn the wasp's nest upstairs but got stung on her knee instead. Guido then sucked the stinger out and asked if she got stung somewhere else. Dora assured her that she was fine now and then asked how she could repay his kindness. Guido says that he would appreciate some eggs, while taking some from the cart, before getting back in their car to leave. By night, they arrive at the house of Guido's uncle, Alessio. A bunch of men exit the house and they see that the inside is trashed. Alessio is on the ground and Guido quickly helps him up. Alessio then gives them a tour of the house and the artifacts around the house before he goes out to his horse named Robin Hood. The next morning, they walk around the city on the way to Ferruccio's new job. His employer warns Guido that he should watch himself as times are hard. Guido then takes the employer's hat and leaves for the bank. He tries to get a loan because he plans to have a bookstore. The receptionist tells him that he would have to apply and have the manager sign it. The manager walks out and Guido then asks for his signature, but he gets dismissed as the manager was already leaving. Guido finds the eggs he got from Dora inside his pockets and fiddles with them. He then accidentally pushes a flower pot off the window and it falls down on the manager. He goes out to apologize and absent-mindedly places the eggs in the manager's hat. The manager lashes out at him and puts on his hat, cracking the eggs on top of his head. Guido then runs away and leaves on a bike. While biking away, he crashes into Dora but he quickly leaves once again. He goes to Alessio's restaurant, where he is to work as a waiter. Alessio quizzes him about the proper way to serve and he stumbles as he jokes around. That night, while Guido and Ferruccio were talking, Ferruccio eventually falls asleep. Guido is amazed at how he was able to fall asleep just like that and Ferruccio tells him that he just tells himself to fall asleep and he did. Guido tries it out while wiggling his fingers, testing his method by telling Ferruccio to wake up. He does, annoyed, and Guido is amused that it apparently works. The next day, Guido spots Dora in the town square while he and Ferruccio are out. He then sees the bank manager stop and kisses Dora on the cheek before leaving. Guido hides until he's gone before he greets Dora. He tries to ask Dora out but her friend discourages her and pulls her away. Dora then tells him that she hopes that they would meet again. During work, Guido plays a riddle game with a constant customer named Dr. Lessing. He tells him the answer to their previous riddle while placing down a tray of food for the doctor. Guido then proposes to tell a riddle this time while Lessing solves it. He obsesses over Guido's new riddle and says he won't be eating the food. An important customer arrives and when he orders something light, Guido gives him the tray previously for Lessing. The customer is surprised at how fast the service is before mentioning that he was an inspector with an appointment at the school that Dora teaches in. Guido poses as the inspector and goes to the school to meet Dora and try to ask her out. She then tells him that she already has plans to go to the theater. He's about to leave until the principal tells him that he was supposed to make a speech about the superiority of their race. The actual inspector then arrives and is horrified to see Guido, who then escapes through the window. He attends the theater although he focuses more on Dora than the actual performance. The woman sitting beside him is distracted and Guido quickly reasons that he can only hear in one ear. He then looks back at Dora and does Ferruccio's method, wishing for Dora to look at him while wiggling his fingers. She eventually does and smiles at him. Later on, Dora argues with the bank manager, who's apparently his boyfriend. She gets dragged to attend a dinner that she doesn't want to go to. Dora accidentally gets inside Ferruccio's car, which Guido drives alone, as it looks similar to his boyfriend's car. They then crash as Guido doesn't look at the road and doesn't know how to use the windshield wipers. He walks her home, showing her his method of asking for things and receiving them, letting it happen through sheer coincidence. He then buys her some chocolate ice cream that she asks her before they arrive at Dora's house. Before they part, Guido says that he needs a dry hat but wonders if he could get one. Dora tries his method and asks aloud that he be given one. Ferruccio's employer arrives and takes his now wet hat and gives Guido his hat back. Guido bids goodbye and leaves while Dora stands in shock. The bank manager holds his engagement party in Alessio's hotel while Guido doesn't know who he's marrying. Another waiter then calls Guido and Ferruccio, telling them that something's going on with his uncle. They go outside and find that Alessio's horse had been painted green along with the words, "Jewish horse." Guido tries to make light of it but Alessio shuts him down and tells him that he'll eventually experience the same discrimination. Once back inside the restaurant, Guido sees Dora and starts to approach her but stops and hides once he sees that her boyfriend is dragging her away. He then sees Lessing about to leave and asks him where he's going. Lessing then tells him that he has been summoned back to Berlin. He gives him one last riddle to solve before he leaves and Guido immediately figures out the answer. Meanwhile, Dora is slightly uncomfortable with the conversation at their table. She suddenly hears his boyfriend say Guido's usual greeting towards her and she's surprised. He explains that he was just reading what was written on the cake. Dora realizes that Guido is just around the room. Her boyfriend takes her for a dance but she keeps on looking for Guido. Once Guido arrives in the hall, he hears that the woman the manager was getting married to was Dora. He falls in shock before going back to the kitchen. Guido and Dora finally manage to see each other under the table, where Dora kisses him and tells him to take her away from there. He then gets on his uncle's horse while a cake was being presented and takes Dora to his uncle's house. The manager recognizes Guido as an ostrich egg that falls on his head and tries to chase after him. They arrive at his uncle's house where Guido struggles to open the door and Dora leads him to the shed. Years later, their son, Giosu, exits the shed playing with his toy tank. The three of them get on a bike and they drop off Dora at the school for work. While Guido and Giosu walk across the street, Giosu asks about a shop sign that bans Jews from getting in. He explains that some people just don't like certain people inside their shops. While in their bookshop, two men arrive and tell Guido that he needs to go to the prefect's office, even though he's already been there. Guido comes along and doesn't allow Giosu to join him. As Giosu is left alone in the shop, Dora's mother arrives though the boy doesn't know that she is his grandmother. She buys a book and hands her an envelope for her mother. She also tells him that he'll be meeting his grandmother tomorrow because it's his birthday. Later, Dora takes Giosu home on the bike while Guido closes the shop. He doesn't see that someone had vandalized the words, "Jewish store," outside the shop. The next day, the household is busy preparing for Giosu's birthday. Giosu doesn't want to take a shower despite his parents nagging. Dora then leaves to fetch her mother. Once they return, she finds the house is a wreck and no one else is there. Guido, Giosu, and Alessio had been taken away by German soldiers. They're in a military truck and Giosu asks his father where they're going. Guido quickly lies that they're going on a trip for his birthday although he himself has no idea their destination. They eventually arrive at a train station where the three of them are crammed inside. Guido keeps up the lie while Dora arrives at the station and volunteers to get on the train with them, although they're in different compartments. The train stops at a concentration camp. Guido tries to get to Dora but fails as men and women are being segregated from one another. They join the line and Guido once again lies about the situation. He tells Giosu that they're actually participating in a game and that the price is a tank. Alessio gets separated from them. Guido and Giosu arrive at their bunker and a German soldier asks for anyone who knows German to translate what he was saying. Guido volunteers, even though he doesn't really know any German, so that he could convince Giosu further that it was all just a game. On the women's side of the camp, Dora learns that the Germans don't let the old people and the children work because they were being fooled into thinking that they would be taking showers when they were actually going to be executed in the gas chambers. Giosu escapes this as he hates showers. He goes to where Guido carries heavy metal and asks him what he's doing. Guido tells him that they were building the prize tank before telling him to hide as they'll go back to the bunker together. Meanwhile, Alessio is among those who were killed in the gas chambers. Guido hides Giosu, telling him that he earns points if the guards don't see him. They also manage to reassure Dora that they were fine using the loudspeakers. Guido also participates in a checkup where he sees Lessing conducting the checkup and tells him the answer to their last riddle. Giosu confronts Guido that someone had told him the true nature of the camp. His father then tells him that he was being fooled so that he could get distracted and lose the supposed game. Guido manages to trick Giosu into staying. One day, the families of German soldiers arrive at camp, and the children play hide and seek. Guido shows his son this to prove that the game was still on. Giosu gets mistaken to be one of the German children and is taken inside for a meal, along with the others. Guido works as a server for the German families during their stay. Giosu almost gets exposed when he says thank you in Italian, but his father quickly pretends that he had been teaching that to the children. Lessing discreetly tells him another riddle that Guido doesn't immediately solve. He then plays a song to reassure Dora that they were still alright. Later on, the war is about the end and the German forces are all over the place. Guido takes Giosu and tries to leave. He tells his son that they were now on the final round of the game and if he hid in the box until everything was quiet, then they win. Guido dresses up as a woman and tries to find Dora. He is eventually caught by a German soldier and made to walk on. He passes by Giosu's hiding spot and winks at him so that the boy doesn't grow suspicious. Guido is then taken to a secluded corner where he is executed and his body is left behind. The camp is liberated and the prisoners start to leave. Once they all left, Giosu gets out of his hiding spot and looks around. An American tank then appears and gets closer to him. Giosu thinks that this is his prize. A soldier emerges from the tank and asks him what his name is, though Giosu doesn't understand English. The soldier then lets him ride in the tank. Giosu soon finds Dora in the crowd. He calls out to her and the soldier puts him down from the tank. He then runs towards her and the movie ends as he happily says that he won the game, not knowing that his father had been killed. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.